This is the Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yeah, what's up?
Uh, this podcast is sponsored by the new Night Titan, the Defender,
It's
and
cool.
it's extra sprue. Spicy comments needed.
That's a
Under
real
the
ass
Imperial
Titan.
skies.
I have no idea what's
Uh,
going on. It's a knight.
Yeah, like there's a new sprue coming out.
it's the yeah, it's a new sprue because we needed another new sprue. I get it. Everybody's that's how they doing it. Everybody's gotten that. There hasn't been new cool Xeno shit. I know, but
Well, we
still,
got that sweet Grandmaster.
stop. Exactly. Like, come on, man.
That
Like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's really it's just everything is just getting so homogenized when it comes to 40k. Like the inspiration is just very hard. And if you're new in the hobby, it's great because all this is new and it's cool. But I think if you've been in for a certain while, it, it's like I talked to somebody today and they were like, "Oh yeah, remember you could spend 5 points on bionics?" And then like every game, I'd always have one guy that would get up. Like that was what made 40k cool in my opinion.
I do miss Bionics.
And it's just like
Yeah,
it's like I don't know.
it's a
Anyways,
hard line to walk for sure of paying points for war gear because it can be like rewarding for people who have that 5, 10, 15, 20 years of knowledge with the game. But for somebody who's trying to get into the game, it can be like overwhelming.
Mm.
So like I get
true.
it.
Yeah, I miss it, but people who've never experienced it think I sound insane.
Mhm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, eh. But so we've got no Mike Haspel tonight. Let me open up our show notes. What was our show about?
I don't know.
Hobby evolution.
Yeah,
Hobby
there we go.
evolution. The May 7th notes. Hobby
And a
evolution and
little bit
industry
extra.
trends. Oh yeah. So as always, feel free to start populating Q&A with that information. If you got any questions on that on hobby evolution and trends, I'll populate it.
Or
But
or what do we think?
yeah, and Rob's got some interesting breaking news. I've got
Oh,
a
do I?
special message from Brad Chester and the Lorecast, and so. But before we do any of that, let's hand it over to White and roll out to the Cave of Wonders.
All right. By request
Yes.
Mm.
of Kenny, by request, we have to get to the bottom of this. It's the burning question that's
Oh,
taken society by storm.
Yeah.
it is.
And I mean, let's debate it. 100 men versus one gorilla. Who wins?
First off, Wyatt, as the wishmaster and arbitrator of this, I need so like your thought processes are super important here because I gotta ask establishing questions that have been weighing
Okay,
on
so
me.
I'll lay it down. My thought process has almost no memes associated with it. So like what I'm gonna do as the genie is
What are the rules
go
of
to
this fight?
Wikipedia uh gorilla. So let's like really look at this because I feel I've seen a lot of the same talks and reels that you have where people are like thinking that a gorilla is basically a fucking kaiju, and that's not true. It's simply not the case. Um, so I mean, this is a what's that Monty Python bit about the two different types of swallows? Like if it's a
The European and
versus an African
African
swallow. So first off, we have
farm
to we
swallow.
have to quantify the gorilla variable, right? So let's see here. The Western gorilla is the first thing that
I think they're all
uh
been talking silverback is specifically what
yeah,
people have been
I
saying.
think that is what is because like I'm looking at a picture. This is like the quintessential black fur silverback Western gorilla, great ape found in Africa, one of the two species of the hominid genus gorilla, large and robust with males weighing around 168 kilos or 370
That's
pounds.
the one. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going on an average weight
300.
of 370 pounds.
Oh,
right?
almost 400. Okay.
Let's see. Reaching heights between 1.25 and 1.8 meters. So between 4 feet 1 inch and 5 feet 11 inch, because they don't stand as tall as most humans, right? But their arm spans is what's crazy. So they have like an 8-foot arm span, right? On average, it's 2.6 meters. So 8 feet 6 inches wide is their arm span. But these dudes are basically in the manlet category, right? Anything under 6 feet, unfuckable manlet. So they're not 8 foot tall giants weighing 700 pounds. However, the muscle distribution of a gorilla is different than a human. So like on average, they are way stronger or able to leverage their muscle mass in a much more efficient and powerful way.
And they're all
than a
fast
human.
twitch, so they move so much faster than we can. And I think they said, because you've never actually measured a silverback's bench, but it's mathed out at roughly 4,000 pounds. So like, which is like what you expect from a primate like that, like something like 10x stronger than a person, like which is so much stronger than a person. You actually don't think about it, like what that means. Like literally can like lift like 40 times his own body weight or some shit. Like some.
So we're going on averages, and we're gonna assume that they are stronger than a human on an order of magnitude. Now, whether or not that their muscles convert to the same way that are, because like their joints are different, their shoulders are different, their elbows and wrists are different. So like a primate may not actually be able to bench press that much weight.
No,
because
just to put it in terms that a human can
physically
understand,
not be able to do it, right?
It's just like to put it in terms that a human can understand, right? And also, don't forget about their massive mouth and teeth and their bite force.
Yeah, they have actual fangs. They have huge muscular jaws.
And their forehead, like their actual skull, is like 3 inches thick, dude.
Thick.
I don't know if that's true.
Like that
3
big thing, that
inches-
big hump on the top of their head, it's like skull armor.
Yeah, like the big cartilage thing. I don't think their actual bone is 3 inches thick. Like I'm looking at their skull right now, and they have kind of a weird thing where like their brain case is actually like lower and behind the orbital bone. Like it's a separate thing. Like it goes up and then down, and then there's the actual brain case. And they do have a pretty beefy orbital, but it's definitely not 3 inches thick.
No, it's preposterously thick though. Yeah, like you can't enter you basically can't concuss them with a punch.
Yeah, they got a lot of flesh on that dome. And so we're also assuming, right, that this is in a limited area, limited space, right? Maybe not like an octagon, because I don't even think you could fit 100 people in an octagon.
So
Let's just say
my first question to you though is this, right? So it's a 100v1. Is the gorilla, which we've had many would you rathers, where there's an overlay on this fight, like the Badgers versus the gorilla. Remember?
Yep.
Is the gorilla there to fight?
He is.
He's overlaid.
That's the only way this works.
He's compelled to fight.
It's the only way that this works in a rational, logical, debatable way. Because like the largest gorilla ever like hunted, like recorded and hunted, was like almost 600 pounds,
Bro,
a little over 60.
12 dudes used to be able to kill a woolly mammoth by walking it down, dude. Like it's because no animal on Earth will stand its ground.
That Chongo gorilla, if he saw 100 humans and he was in a limited, he'd be like, "I'm gonna fucking out of here.
Yeah.
Dude. I don't know what to do here."
That's what humans do. Humans have done that.
Fictional thing. This gorilla is here, and he's ready to kick ass and chew gum, and he's all out of gum.
Okay, so now my next question is: I figured you'd say that. So it's not a normal gorilla. This gorilla is being compelled by force that we don't understand to fight until it's dead. Period. It's not going to give an inch. That's a different gorilla. Now, does the same rule apply to the men, or are they just regular dudes?
So we have to take averages, right? Because like some people could say like, what if we just cloned like Brock Lesnar 99 times?
100 dudes, but are they just? But I'm talking about their mindset.
we're gonna go with the average American male standard, right? So we could pull that up, but I feel like everybody kind of knows
We got it.
what
It's
the
a regular
averages
dude.
are.
But is their mindset also compelled to this fight?
Oh yeah.
Like they're
we're
fighting
we're
to the last man.
the only debatable way to this is like we kind of have to assume this is like a Squid Game.
Yeah.
Right. Where like if these guys are like they run away in fear, if they refuse to fight or whatever, like their heads explode. You know, like
See,
they're in this. This is a death.
and I don't think anyone's really talked about it like that. Because if we're saying we have an unusual, unnatural, like evolutionary defying gorilla who will stand his ground when 100 assailants are in front of him and not flee like every other animal on the history of mankind has ever done,
Yeah, dude,
then
like
it
a
can't
lion
just
would
be
run
100
away.
dudes who would
grizzly
also
bear would run away. Yeah.
literally a woolly mammoth run away. Like like literally doesn't matter, right? So because the problem is this gorilla that you just described, this 370-pound gorilla, regular humans. He goes in, he swipes his hand down, a dude's face like flies off his face, and you can see like exposed cartilage and brain and eyes falling out. Then he bites another dude, and then you see his organs and shit. 100, like 50 dudes are gonna run away. Regular people, regular ass people. Now it's a 1v50, dude. Like straight up. That's the big argument. But if the gorilla isn't gonna run, then the people we gotta have to apply the same rules as the humans.
Exactly.
What's the point? Like, because it's in that situation, there's no world in which the gorilla can come out on top.
Yeah,
In my humble opinion.
I agree.
Mhm.
Like a lot of the stuff that I've seen is like so people who like don't know what a gorilla is actually like compared to like what 100 humans is actually like tend to like favor the gorilla because the again like a lot of the reels and stuff show a gorilla as like basically a fucking kaiju.
A kaiju, yeah.
Where,
Like
you know, and it's like no, like I've people who've been to zoos, you may have seen a gorilla in real life. Maybe there's people listening who've actually like been within the vicinity of a gorilla for like zoological reasons, like maybe even like shook a hand with a gorilla or something like that, right? Like they're big, but they're not that big, right? They're not like 10-foot tall,
no, I watched a
700
fight between
pound
two
things.
gorillas in a zoo.
They're just big and fast.
Where they move so
Yeah,
fast.
strong.
Where like these two gorillas are slamming each other, and
Mhm.
they're both like 370 pounds, and they're like almost teleporting 50 feet at a time. They were moving. I was like, that's preposterous.
Yeah, because like most animals in nature, like that's how they work, right? So like one of the reasons that humans are such a dominant hunter species is because like we have the ability of energy efficiency over incredibly long periods of time. Whereas something like a lion or a cheetah or a tiger or a gorilla, they use like an excessive amount of energy in very like short, brutal bursts to do what they need to do. But like they can't
yeah, humans
trek
actually
over long distances.
there
right?
was
They
this
don't
guy's
sprint. They
Mhm.
don't marathon jog.
remember that YouTube channel where the guy was power scaling all the animals like an RPG on Earth that you turned me on to a while back? And he was like, yo, in like early expansion of the game, this was OP, but then he's like talking about like evolution and stuff, right? Humans are S tier endurance stamina. Right, like endurance and stamina. Like we can go farther in one day than any other animal. So we have to suspend reality if we're going into a not real. So both the 100 humans and the gorilla are being compelled by corn. Like they're not backing down, right? And so if the 100 humans won't back down, bro, you won't even lose as many as you think. If like
Probably
they
not.
are all there understanding they're gonna die, like some of them might die, and so that way you're not, like they're not running because the gorilla's not running. We're using the same rules, bro. If you just have like 10 guys circle the gorilla, then 30 guys circle the 10 guys, and 50 guys circle the other guys, and you guys just literally use lateral movement and circle like you're a boxer, and you just try to stay
Mhm.
out of his range and duck and weave and fill the ranks as a guy gets knocked out, you'll actually tire that dude out in like 8 minutes, dude. That
For
motherfucker,
sure.
and then you just stand on his chest.
I
until
would
he
go
kills
so
him.
far as to say it's like so like when you also think about like the physics of leverage and how we use our muscles to do things, I would go so far as to say I think that like between 6 and 10 dudes could like get a hold of this gorilla
Now?
and just like hold him down.
Now let's talk, because this is where the conversation has moved. What's your 10-man lineup?
Oh, if I got to pick,
That's
like
where the conversation
captains,
goes now.
the starters,
See,
right?
Rob, do you agree or disagree? What's your take? Could the 100 men with the following rules defeat the gorilla? What do you think?
Yeah, probably.
Like, if the gorilla doesn't run and the men don't run, like, have you ever tried to tug a war against like 10 kids? You can't beat them.
You mean one dude against 10
Yeah,
kids?
you can't beat them.
Probably not. It's that whole like
I
you
used to
know,
we used to do tug of
multiple
war at the
lines of force.
jamborees in Boy Scouts.
Yep.
Okay, and in our troop, we had some big dudes from Carroll City, and it was a weight. There's a weight cap, right? We had a weight. There's a weight. That's how the tug of war was done. We had a smaller troop, but with some big ass dudes. I had this guy named Ray Ramirez. That dude was 16 years old, could bench press 315 pounds. He was a fullback at Miami High, like literally. That's so we thought we were super geniuses, bro. We had the center of American High. I mean, dude, literally, we had 4 dudes roll up there at our weight limit. We're like, get fucked, you idiots. And then Troop 49 fielded like 13 12-year-olds, bro. They pulled our guys so fast. It wasn't even like they said like go, our guys are already across it wasn't even like a hesitation. It was like 1 second. I was like, that's so I did not see that fucking coming. You know what I mean? Like I was embarrassed. Like we have to reenact it. Like that was my strategy. I came up with that strategy. I was like, I fucked up. So like, there's no way that the fucking gorilla comes out.
So like, if you really want to like power game it, right?
So who's your 10?
Mhm.
No celebrities. Like, I mean, so my 10, 5 biggest dudes. Because I'm gonna go with averages. I'm not gonna just pick. Like,
okay, well, we should all
10
add
genetic
people.
freaks.
We should all add people. We get genetic freaks.
Well, okay, so you maybe have 1 or 2, right? So what I'm saying is like we're going with averages. For
no, we're
us,
changing the rules.
Oh, we're changing the rules.
We're changing the rules.
Then I'm gonna just
we all
pick,
agree 100 dudes beat the gorilla.
10,
so
like,
let's bring it down to
10
10.
fucking defensive linemen in the NFL.
Let's bring it down to 10. 10 men, and let's fill out our ranks, right? Who are who is the baddest dude that you can think of right out the gate to be on the team?
I mean, I'm gonna assume like.
But I agree with you.
Either one of the offensive guards in the Philadelphia Eagles.
See,
I don't know their names.
I agree with you. I think you could actually just say any 10 offensive linemen in the NFL. You could say that.
Yeah.
And it would be and it would work.
Kansas City Chiefs offensive linemen.
And I think that would work. But let's
bed,
pick people. Like let's pick motherfuckers. Like let's make it interesting. Like right at the gate, we need a grappler, Brock Lesnar. Peak Brock Lesnar.
Here's why I chose professional athletes over somebody like Brock Lesnar, because I think there's people that like are really good at looking strong, like sculpting their bodies, you know, like
Brock Lesnar was a professional NFL player, dude.
Sure.
Walk on.
So he's a fine choice, but what I'm saying is like the reason that I chose like
NFL they're better
over like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I'm not picking Stone Cold.
Yeah, like
I get you. That's why I'm picking Brock Lesnar.
Like
he's a genetic freak.
Gold Olympic finalist on the.
He was 102-4 in college, like, and he was heavyweight champion UFC and walked on Vikings. Like that would be my first pick. Brock Lesnar, peak Brock Lesnar is on my squad. Like, but like, let's rotate. Like, who would you put on the squad? Like, now that I've picked Brock Lesnar.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna stick with like NFL defensive linemen.
Just linemen, but find who's the ballerest lineman of all time.
Okay, let me look. Top rated defensive lineman.
Defensive or offensive?
Here's my reason.
Offensive guys might not have the endurance.
NFL. 20. That's what I mean. So like
he's going defense.
Like somebody in the chat mentioned Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall got into like they did like a UFC style, not the actual UFC, but like an MMA promotion
against
with somebody else.
What's his name? The other guy. Yeah.
And the thing is that Eddie was tired in like the first minute. Like you have to be able to fight.
We're trying to outpace this
time, right? So it's like, sure, Eddie Hall is undoubtedly one of the strongest human beings who has ever lived, but he has like no fight endurance, right? He couldn't play every single down of a defensive line in the Super Bowl. Like that shit's not happening.
No, nobody does that.
He's not that type of strong, right? But
no,
you
but I
take
do
somebody
like what
who's
Mike
like,
said. He said he picked Eddie Hall, Happy Bjornsson, Brian Shaw, the 3 strongest men in the world, plus Brock Lesnar and 86 hobos. That's his pick. But yeah,
so
we got to pick people who can
number
go the
one
distance.
ranked scouting report for 2025. I guess this is for the NFL draft of this year. The number one guy is named Abdul Carter. He is 6'3", 259 pounds, runs a 4.440.
Holy shit!
He's a college junior from Penn State. So he's not even like the pinnacle, right? Like I'd actually have to look up like
But he's quick
starting
and he can move laterally and he can do it a long time.
exactly,
That's
right?
what
So
we
if
so
we
you
looked
need
at
It's all
like
about
you need
endurance.
strategies, right? So you need to
Yep.
have some distractors, right? Some guys who don't
Yep.
get gassed, right, on your line. So you need a guy like him. That's a good pick.
Yeah, some anchors, so to speak.
Who would you put on the squad, Rob?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I think linemen are a great pick
But like what other?
because
But there's other sports. I think honestly, a fucking
Mhm.
basketball player would be a good pick too.
Mm,
yeah,
NBA,
maybe
those
so.
dudes
Yeah, yeah.
like they fall down and they're like,
but they can also run full basketball court for the whole night, and they're big and they can move left and right and pivot on a dime.
I mean, there is that. So I think you have to have a good mix, like treat it like a D&D group, right? Like, so you want some of that. You probably want some soccer / football, whatever you want to call it, players, because they're small, they're quick, they're like your rogues, right? And
Mm,
then,
I like where Rob's
um,
going with this.
and then you get the linemen, you get some defensive linemen, you get some offensive linemen,
Your
you
tanks.
get some, uh, Jason Kelsey's, and I don't know a lot of linemen in like
I mean,
current
you probably
era.
want like some tight ends, some fullbacks, some tailbacks.
I mean, there's some
Uh,
fullbacks, but there's some fullbacks that I would definitely name, but they're not. Like, I don't know if they have the same staying power. I mean, they're good on a
you
team.
might. Well, so I'm also thinking like maybe you want like a tailback, somebody
Mm-hmm.
with some agility, because
Yep,
like so in my mind you have
and some
like a
punch.
rank or two of dudes that are like the distraction,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have your heavy hitters like your Eddie Hall,
You
like
need Brock Lesnar as your finisher. You need a
your
guy
yeah
who
yeah like
doesn't
those
rely
they're
on
behind
punches.
they're behind the gorilla outside of his line of
Yeah,
sight, right? So you need your distraction dudes to be nimble.
yeah.
Yeah,
You need a big strong grappler for your finish because punches aren't going to do anything. So you need to get So you got to wear the gorilla down with speed and mobility. And so I think Rob's in the right place. I think you could you could get some dodge tanks, for lack of a
mm-hmm.
better phrase, in there.
Yep.
Like, who's the best dodge tank in sports?
Probably maybe a
Mm.
fullback because it's going to be contact, but also
No, you want
say,
somebody who can break ankles, dude. You want like a tailback. You want like a real running back.
no, I would say Saquon Barkley. That dude
I
is
mean,
a
yeah, like
Yeah, there it is.
savage.
that's your starter right
So
there.
so we got a dodge tank.
I mean,
Right.
even when you slow down his footage, he looks like
We have a
he's moving
tank.
full speed.
We have a defense tank, a dodge tank, a finisher, a DPS grappler for the finisher.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it comes down to how many DPS finishers and how many dodge tanks and defense tanks do we need to finish this fight.
I mean, we probably need a
I mean,
handful of like actual
line.
damage dealers, like some heavyweight boxers or somebody.
I don't
Like,
think punches are gonna do it though on a gorilla.
I disagree.
Then Francis
Like,
Ngannou.
yeah, that's who I was.
Francis
gonna say,
Ngannou.
Francis Ngannou. Because like it doesn't matter how thick your skull is, if you get punched in like the fucking ear
Or the
eye,
jaw.
yeah, I mean, like
He
it's
does
still gonna
his
hurt
shovel
that
hook
gorilla.
like will bury people, dude. It puts people on the
Yeah.
ground. So Francis Ngannou, so we have a striking DPS to go to kind of thread to stick and move in the ranks.
Yeah.
So probably need another good defense tank. Or what's another good DPS? I saw somebody online say peak Kimbo Slice, and I was like, I like that.
Maybe so. I want to know. Like, I would say somebody who's really good agility and does a lot of leg kicks, like an Anderson Silva kind of guy.
Peak Anderson Silva.
Who can like you get in, you throw a leg kick to like the knee, to like the whatever the quad muscle, the calf muscle,
the perennial nerve.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope
Because
gorillas
like
have those.
I don't know if you guys seen it, but there's like a video.
Sure.
If you like properly execute
Mhm.
it, Eddie Hall got leg kicked by like a 10-year-old,
Yeah.
and it almost like
Yeah,
sent him
you're
to the
aiming for the
ground.
perennial nerve. It'll.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like you don't even have to be like that big or that strong. You just need to be fast and you got to be accurate.
So then you can get like old school Mirko Crow Cop,
Yeah.
like Pride Fighter. His kicks, his legs look
Like
like
a Muay
He-Man's
Thai
legs.
specialist. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You get a guy like him. So you got two different types of strikers for DPS: up high, up low, and he switched. He can go up high too with his legs.
Mhm.
3 DPS, 3 baller. That's 3 good DPS.
I think so.
Yeah. And I mean, you could fill out the other 80 dudes with
No,
like,
we're just looking for 10. That's what we're doing.
yeah, I mean, like, I think that's all you need. Like,
So we just, and so we can honestly, so you could probably pull from other sports too. I mean, like a rugby player. Somebody mentioned in the chat. It's
yeah,
like, yo,
some
rugby players.
rugby,
Those guys are vicious.
Rugby.
World
Perfect.
Premier Soccer, those guys have a ton of
Soccer
endurance.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dodge. Those are definitely like your roguey.
Distraction backups.
Yeah.
You know?
Your in and outs. You also need somebody to pull people out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
that's
we're
in
still
general.
So we need like a core of maybe 10 people that
We need
are
a reserve.
like your like maybe not medics, but to be like your pull people out if they go down. So I would say like you pick like any 10 active duty what are they called? Like Air Force pararescue.
Oh, I like that.
Those guys can go into basically anywhere, like the mountains, the snow, the ocean. I'm pretty sure that's what it's Air Force guys, pararescue guys.
Get some pararescue guys in there.
Yeah.
Because they're also legit and they're fit as shit too. So they can actually, they can pull dudes out. Because like the thing is, at the end of the day, we're also better than the gorilla. We're not going to let our dudes die.
Let's have like 3 active duty Navy SEAL officers as like command and coordination. They don't even have to be that good at fighting.
You're right.
Just like being able to organize people in a under duress, you know.
So 3 DPS, a defense tank, a dodge tank. And then we get some SEALs and we get some paratrooper medics. Yeah, we're gonna fuck this gorilla up, dude.
It's like not even a contest.
Nah.
It's like
GG. That's it. Just takes 10. And we're not even gonna lose a dude. I bet 0 casualties. I mean 0 death casualties. We're gonna definitely take some damage.
I don't go that far because like, you know, as dope as our lineup might be, if that gorilla gets an ankle or a wrist and locks on, that dude's fucking donezo.
That's where Mirko Cop and Francis Ngannou come in. You know what I mean? Just laying in
like, yeah, you gotta be fast because like the TTK on that is gonna be,
bro. And all you need is to wear that gorilla down a little bit, and then Brock Lesnar comes in, gets him with a German suplex, and then everyone just starts stomping on that gorilla's face.
Yeah, dude, gets him in the camel clutch.
Yep.
Not the camel clutch.
The camel clutch is OG. Thank you for letting us partake in a bit of internet pop culture, because this gorilla thing has been hilarious. The best thing I've ever seen on it was somebody did like a bit where like Mr. Beast organized an actual.
Oh yeah,
that was the funniest shit I ever saw.
I think that's one of the ones that
it is.
Yeah, they had like a kaiju in there, like you said.
Yeah, that's why I was like, this is stupid. Like gorillas aren't that big.
But I like it when the guy's interviewed is like, he straight up did like video game moves, dog. He was
yeah.
Yeah, Riverside Miniature says Chael Sonnen in his prime. Yeah, I love it, dude, because Chael Sonnen was actually doing a podcast with DC Daniel Cormier, and he was like, "You and me in our prime, dude, 100%, juiced up on roids, just 2 dudes," which I thought was hilarious. All right, so real quick, let's talk about. Thank you, Wyatt. Thank you for being so logical. No one's spitting the logic. That's the thing. Appreciate your objectivity. Let's talk real quick. Just take a quick break to talk about Motor City Major. Okay, so yeah. I got a few texts. I got a few calls recently about this, and this is in Michigan. It's a Michigan GT. It's being put on by the 40K Lorecast uh, podcast. That's Brad Chester,
Mm-hmm.
friend of the show. And so they're struggling, right? They in addition to them needing sponsors, the date being only June 6th, them looking for volunteers as they're building up this 7-round 3-day GT. Brad Chester has been in and out of the hospital like 2 times in like the last month.
Since Adepticon,
Since
yeah.
Adepticon, yeah. He had literally emergency heart surgery, and now he has what is called a TIA, like a mini stroke, which he's okay. Which is I've been told is very different than saying a stroke, but 2 extremely serious, very worrisome things. He's doing better now. I did get a text back that he's him and Brian Horton are organizing the event, and they're so grateful that we were thinking about them and we want to help them fill out their show. So the thing is, or fill out their event, they're looking for sponsors and they're looking for event volunteers. You can just go to that link I put in there, Rob, the 40klorecast.com. They're offering free, they're waiving year 1 vendor fees for the hall for anyone who wants to vend. So people can get in on this, like ground floor of what they're trying to do out there in Michigan. So if you're interested in helping out the Lorecast, helping out Brad Chester, definitely go over to the website, go over to the link that Rob will be throwing out, and it'll be attached to this podcast.
Where
and
did you put it?
Contact these guys. See if if you know a vendor, or you are a vendor, or if you know that they might need support, boots on the ground, or anything like that. Help these guys out, because Brad Chester is, one of the best individuals we have in the hobby. OGs.
What? I got it right here.
That's my entire update on that subject. Shout out to Rottweiler for putting all this on my radar.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what he was saying. So I'm glad you
had a phone call with him. When he told me what had happened, I was like, holy shit. So
okay.
That's our big update there. That's our community outreach right there. Rob, you got some news?
Boy, do I. Where to begin? All right. So first off, wanted to talk about a new 40K list builder. Well, it's not new. It's been around for a hot minute, but it's called battlebase.app. You can go and download it, and it basically does everything. Like everything. It's pretty dope. They got a whole Discord community and such. So definitely worth checking it out. I messed around with it. And as I was getting in there making some night lists, I was like, yeah, it actually got me like really hyped to play 40K, because I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to jump through no hoops and put in no code and, go to this app to do this thing and this to do this thing. Like, it's all right here and it's dope. So I got really amped up, like cracking out on listing things. So, and it's got all sorts of functionality. So definitely worth checking out. It's battlebase.app. Check it out and let us know what you think. But I'm pretty impressed with it, and I get a lot of emails about these things. So I think this is one of the better ones. I definitely immediately put it on our list of like top 5. Well, I guess now top 6 army builder apps out there. Game Envy. I did want to talk about this. So Game Envy put out their new brush cleaner. I guess it's technically a paint remover, but it does, it conditions and all sorts of things. And what I like about this one, of course I don't have it handy, is it's got like a little textured, I think she just fell off. The cat just like fell off the cat tree. I was like, what is happening here? I think she fell asleep. It's got these little like textured designs on the inside of the cap. So like you can put a little water in there and a little bit of the cleaner, and then just kind of, gently swish your brush, because you don't want to mess up the fibers and things.
Yeah, it's like an agitator. They have them at the bottom of their paint cups too.
Yeah, they got those little scrubbies. So, it's just at the bottom of the paint cup too, but you can buy that additional.
They're separate. Yeah, they're 2 pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really neat product. Now, also, I talked to them about tariffs in China and things, because obviously that's going to start being a thing here soon for the hobby. And currently, they already have a container of the new lights coming over, and they should have it in house next week. So they were taking pre-orders on the new light system that they have, which is pretty cool. I think I've shown it to you guys before, but I know Kenny has one of these. It's the Lucent. I'm really impressed with it. I think it's one of the
That's
better
old
ones out
news,
there.
man.
But well, the thing is, you can't just buy it right now. It's on pre-order because they're waiting on their shipment to come in. But the good news is, it's no additional price, no anything like that. It's still the same old price. And then after they get all the pre-orders out the door, they're gonna see how many are left and maybe just put it on general release. So it'll be like the first time you can actually go and just buy it
Oh, I see.
on their site since the Kickstarter, because it's been like that successful. They brought over multiple shipments, done pre-orders, sold out. So that's a really good thing for the hobby, at least, and that they're not affected by all this buffoonery quite yet. LVO tickets are also going on sale, I believe, next week as well. So LVO 12 tickets will be going on sale. Look for more links in
May 12th.
yeah. So what is that? Tuesday? Monday. Monday. So by the time you're hearing this, look for tickets. We talked a little bit earlier about the Night Defender, the new Night kit that's coming out with the Void Shields at the top. Sounds like it'll extend the Void Shields. It's got two weapons that we've seen in Horus Heresy and other things out there already. I'm sure there's just be bigger, more deadlier versions, kind of like what we saw with the Night Dominus. But I mean, I'll probably just buy the bits. Me personally, I'm not gonna buy the kit and keep the kit because I already got like so many chassis laying around already magnetized. But I'm sure some folks are going to be interesting. But what I did find unique was that Games Workshop said, "Hey, we're going to make two kits. One is going to come with all the variants and the Defender, and one's going to come with all the variants and the Canis Rex sprue, which is also the Knight Preceptor, depending on how you build it." Um, so that was kind of interesting that they're like, "Okay, well, you could get this, or you can get this one, but you can't get like the super box quite yet, like they're doing with the Baneblade." So they kind of like resplit the boxes back apart from being, if you bought the Canis Rex kit or Knight Preceptor, you would get
Yeah.
all of them.
It's a better value than it once was, but it could be better.
Yeah, I mean everything. There's always room for improvement when it comes to Games Workshop, I suppose. And we're gonna talk more about takedowns here shortly, but I don't know if it's on as many folks' radar out there, but they went through and did a run of fan animation takedowns over the past couple weeks on YouTube. Um, in a lot of cases, just even if you get a copyright strike on YouTube, depending, that goes against you like that, and depending on how many you have and what regularity, you could just lose your channel in general, and stuff like that, or YouTube could just put you on a demonetize you, whatever, right? It just kind of depends on severity. So all these things out there, obviously if you have an IP, it's your right to protect it. But I think the optics and the way that Games Workshop tends to go about things is concerning for a lot of people in the hobby space, especially when it might not be, or maybe it is their income or not their income, just a hobby on the side. You know, we could talk for a while about the fan animation stuff, but just a little disappointing to see. And we'll talk more about what just went down today in the space as well. Mats by Mars, if you're into some of the skirmish games out there, they just put out a whole bunch of different designs that look great, but also new layouts for the War of Kings Shatterpoint expansion, or excuse me, the War of Kings Marvel Crisis Protocol expansion, and also First Contact Shatterpoint expansion. So you can get the layouts with all the, positions and things. I think if you haven't if you played Shatterpoint and you didn't like it, it wasn't your cup of tea because of the way that uh the the rounds went, the skirmishes, so to speak. The new pack, the First Contact pack, I do like, because what happens is instead of giving a bonus for the second and third, what is it? It's not skirmish, whatever they call it. Um, you get, it's just, it kind of spreads out the objectives a little bit more, and it makes it kind of doesn't give a clear advantage to where one is worth more points. You can, if you're already kind of ahead, it just, there was a lot of strategies you could do where it kind of didn't matter. But now it seems like all of the rounds are a little bit more fair with the new expansions, First Contact. So if you did play Shatterpoint and you didn't find it to your liking, maybe check out the new First Contact expansion, because I feel like it's a little bit better. It's almost kind of like a new game, to be honest with you. Um, so just maybe give it a second chance, because I think Atomic Mass putting out Shatterpoint the same month that 10th edition 40K came out might have been a little too ambitious. And I think it's a really good game that's worth checking out. It's got a lot of nuances, and it obviously is very different from 40K. So it takes some getting used to and some kind of reading between the lines to understand like what an allied unit is, or how the terminology goes. But once you spend a little time and actually kind of get into it, it makes sense, and it is a very well written system, I think. But anyways, that's just my 2 cents for that. What else we got? Oh, 6 new sprays for Color Forge came out, so you can obviously get those from the Color Forge North America site if you're here in the States. Monument Hobbies also has them um, in their store as well. I cannot remember what the Shatterpoint rounds are. It's really bugging. Anyways, so check those out if you're into. I really like the cans and the extra value in there, but some folks on this podcast don't like using rattle cans. That's okay though.
They're kind of the old. They're kind of the old heat. I mean, even Jason's personal opinion is exactly like Wyatt's. Like, he also doesn't use spray paint. He uses airbrush primer because he says it's wasteful. You spray it everywhere, but the model. But as time has showed us, not everyone has an airbrush, nor is going to buy an airbrush, nor has the space for an airbrush or whatever. So, you if you're gonna cater to every artist and every hobbyist, at least bring out the best spray paint you can. And that's what they do.
And value, of course.
Yeah.
Struggle. It's called a struggle. Oh, why did it take so long?
I still use rattle can for the once in a while occasional pewter models.
Oh yeah, they're great for pewter,
I
especially.
I like rattle can for pewter.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
that's been years since that's actually happened.
Well, I really like I like them for terrain, just because
Oh yeah,
it's just
take all my terrain outside and just blast it, dude. Yeah, that's
right.
another good point. But again, if
But
you're gonna cater to all hobbyists of all techniques, make the best, and that's what Monument Hobbies does. They always stock the best. These are notoriously famous for being top tier quality rattle cans. So that's exciting news. I mean, I got a can of it right here. I got a can of some of that, and I still haven't tried it, to my embarrassment.
no, their stuff's good. So as far as products go, I think. Oh, I do want to talk about Squad Marks. So Squad Marks has their battle ready terrain set that came out. That there's a couple different packages you can buy where it's the GW Prime Nexus layouts, or the WTC layouts, or whatever you want. You can get them all. You can get them with the actual little felt, or you can get the acrylic basing for them and everything like that. So just kind of depending on what you want, it's all up there. Like, but the shapes are the shapes. But what I really like about it, and he sent me a set a little early. I think it's some that they flew over. Like, I was looking at it earlier. So here it is. It's this looks. I don't know what this is. I think it's some sort of card. Yeah, it looks like it's like a heavy card with a design printed on it. So we got one of the little L's right here, and it's got optional punch out windows / doors if you want it. The design is reversible, which is really cool because that's like a thing now. So you can just kind of pull out this little there's an additional little support piece, like a 90-degree corner that you can pop on and pop off. And then inside, it's very hard to see in the camera probably, but there's little rare earth magnets in here, and you just flip up the little floors and they lock in to the floor. So it's very easy to flat pack it and put it away.
Love those.
This thing's really cool. But to give it extra rigidity, you like how I said that, Kenny? There's these little like stickers with really super strong 3M sticky stuff. They're all sticking to each other. And there's little spots to put them on here, which is super helpful because you kind of, it's very hard to see the little template cutouts, but they're there. And then you just lock this in, and not only does it lock in to the wall itself with the magnets, but it also
the sticky gives it a ledge.
Yeah, it gives it a great ledge. So this is a really cool design, and I think the addition of this little 90-degree corner piece,
making it reversible is wild.
Yeah, this is a super customizable set, and I mean this is the easiest to use. I like the frontline set, but you still have to punch it out, and you still have to semi-glue.
Yeah, I
together.
fucking hate MDF terrain.
I mean, I
can't stand punching it out, putting it together. I hate all that. Like, I'm not saying that like I don't appreciate playing on it. I do. I'm just glad I'm not the motherfucker messing with it. I like the luxury experience that Squad Marks brings.
That's what Squad Marks is for sure. And you know, I got this in the mail today, and I was looking at it. I was like, holy crap, this thing's like crazy engineered. So I called him up, and I'm like, yo, dog, like hit me with the too long didn't read. And he's just like, yeah, this, that, and that. I was like, this is really good. Like, I was really impressed.
It's the luxury experience.
Yeah, I can't wait to.
And didn't you just play GT at Squad Marks, Wyatt?
Yes.
How was it? You got to play on this terrain firsthand?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah. It's definitely more like modern in terms of how it interacts with the rules for the GW layouts and everything like that. Whereas they're sort of like pop-up terrain that was really cool. They still use, but it's kind of like the pop-up triangle shapes aren't that great for like modern Leviathan rules. Still functional, but the new stuff is definitely cooler.
Yeah, it's wild. I love their terrain. I'm hooked ever since the first time I saw it.
Yeah, I too am very, very impressed. So I did want to mention that. So that they're taking pre-orders on that right now. It will be up shipping out, I think, next week or the week after. So, you know, it's one of those things where it hits land, but you know, they got to get the truck and they got to get the crate and they got to get it all delivered. And they're like, yo, dog, it'll be there soon. And they're like, okay, but what's soon? I don't know. 1 to 2 weeks, whatever. Apparently that's how it goes. So here we are. So that's like basically all the stuff that's all the haps right now that I'm tracking. So pretty robust.
So we actually went super longer than normal. So let's take a quick commercial break.
Oh gosh.
And then we're gonna pivot subjects, and we'll finish off by talking about the GW stuff that you brought up, and then we'll circle back
to Takedown Apocalypse.
Yeah, Takedown Apocalypse. And we're back. We ran kind of long on our gorilla debate, but it had to happen.
I was gonna say, I don't feel like that was me.
It was the gorilla. Yep, it had to happen. The whole internet doesn't get to have fun with the gorilla thing, and we don't. But having said that, we're not going to cover some of our show notes tonight, but we do have some spicy breaking news that Rob presented to us earlier in the pre-show. Rob, what's going on with these takedowns, man?
So today, Games Workshop went after over 270 online sellers for a variety of reasons in a coordinated global IP enforcement action for trademark infringement, false designation of origin, and they are seeking relief under the All Writs Act. They are alleging that defendants sold counterfeit Warhammer merchandise via e-commerce platforms. They allege that the defendants were unauthorized to use the Warhammer marks. Designs mimicked official branding to deceive consumers. The alleged harm includes revenue loss, brand dilution, and reputational damage.
Oh, that's
Although,
straight up the fair use stuff. That's straight up copyright stuff.
yep.
That's like
Um,
verbatim.
mhm. Uh, some sellers were penalized for using GW logos and category banners. Others were cited for displaying GW products they did not produce, often sourced through Shopify's affiliate system called the Collective.
Oh,
And advance notice was avoided to prevent defendants from destroying evidence or hiding assets, allegedly. Um, this is where it gets a little spicy.
so wait, they didn't do a notice takedown so that you couldn't hide what you've done or hide assets. So they're about to get like
Right.
270 subpoenas out there for like bank records, financials.
Um, it's sort of beyond that. So they issued temporary restraining orders, otherwise known as TROs, and they froze. They did sales freeze, so these sellers were banned from selling or promoting infringing goods. In a lot of cases, the Shopify, or excuse me, not Shopify, the Etsy and the eBay stores have just disappeared. In the myriad of links I clicked, I was like, oh, they're just gone. Oh, they're just gone. Oh, oh. So like I couldn't see. Fortunately, they have screen caps all this stuff, so I had to look through all that. And we're talking over 30 different legal documents as at currently. Um, they froze assets. Financial accounts were locked.
Holy shit. So wait, so obviously on one side of the spectrum, we're talking straight recasters. That's the extreme side of the spectrum. But this is
Yes.
going all the way to the guy who's making potentially his own shoulder pads that kind of have a Omega on them, too.
I didn't see any of that.
Okay, so it's not gone that far.
No, but
Okay, so it's gone. So okay, so that's a little better than I thought. So
Mhm.
it's more of the extreme recasting and counterfeiting, and they said brown dilution, like people using their logo
Right.
when they're not selling 40K stuff. That's a very different thing than somebody making counterfeit. So it seems like they're mostly going after counterfeit shit.
Yeah, and I'll touch on that here in a minute because I did a breakdown of like there's a whole schedule of these sellers and the platforms, the country of or the country of the seller, etc. Right? Which, as you can imagine,
It's
who do
mostly
you
China.
think's number one? Yeah.
That's why we call it
um,
China Cast.
yes.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any. I didn't see any like Eastern European or Russia on there, to be honest with you. But I'll double check it here in a second. So they're calling for expedited discovery. So they are forcing platforms like Amazon, eBay, AliExpress to disclose the seller's details. Um, the online marketplaces must identify, freeze, and disclose data on infringing sellers. So basically, a lot of sellers I spoke with, their PayPal accounts are frozen, for instance, um, which is problematic.
So this was a big like operation. This was like they gathered their information, they built their case, then just like one massive global sting.
So there isn't any clear indication that Games Workshops themselves did this, but rather they contracted a company or a legal firm out of Miami to compile this information and go after these sellers. And this legal firm has a what is it?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect GW to handle it in house. Like obviously they outsource this.
Right. So they are recognized for their expertise in IP litigation, but the problem is that the way they do it, uh, the broad scope of their lawsuits have kind of led to negative perceptions because the way they do it, like just kind of shotgun blast, it makes it difficult for international sellers, which obviously there was a bunch on here, not just from China, but also Great Britain. Um, so it makes it difficult for small and international sellers to even, uh, fight this or what have you.
Yeah, there's a word for that. It's escaping me for that style of for what that's called. But yeah, so
I did some digging on them, and apparently, that in a case involving Duran Duran, they went after 750 Etsy sellers at the same time too. So this isn't the first time they've done stuff like this. Uh,
yeah,
but
they've got the contacts. Like that's how that works. Like regular people can't just call up Etsy and like freeze 700 accounts.
right.
Like, but
So this is where it gets very interesting. Um, so there's 280 sellers, right? We'll just call it 280. It's over 270, so it's closer to 280. We'll just say 280. Uh, under what is so under this like provision for them being able to do this, right? Uh, to cover potential damages if the TRO is later found unjustified, a $10,000 bond is required to be posted for each.
accusation.
Right. So,
Holy shit.
at minimum, this just cost Games Workshop $2.8 million.
$2.8 million in what do they call that when you put it in? It's an escrow, right? Like a
Well, yeah, it's a bond,
like a
but
bond,
yeah.
$2.8 million bond to be paid in damages for wrongful damages, but they're out
Well,
2.8
actually,
liquid right now.
so cash money, they wouldn't have. I don't know how it works internationally. I don't know if they'd have to put up the full 2.8 or if they'd have to put up the 10% of that. Like, I don't know because, like, in some cases you have to put up all of it, and some you don't. It's just like a percentage, right? But in any that's the law. Is they're supposed to have, because if some dude gets his things frozen and his business messed up,
And then
right?
you were then the wrong.
Right, and it was Games
We
Workshop's
need to know you
fault.
have the money to cover that.
Right, they have to be able to cover that. Now, here's where it gets even spicier. So, some of the sellers here in the States that were affected by this, one of them, the product that they allege, that they came after him for, wasn't even something that he sells. It was sourced through Shopify Collective, which is basically like an affiliate type deal on his site, right? So a completely different company's product being sold and fulfilled by a completely different company just happens to it's like his website is the marketplace,
Yeah, you were telling me
right?
about Shopify Collective, and that's kind of like the new hotness right now.
Yeah, it is. So that was wild. So like, once that
So
gets
he's in trouble
sorted,
for opting into Collective
well,
and
maybe.
having
I mean,
somebody doing nefarious shit.
he probably, yeah, I mean, maybe you shouldn't, maybe it was something that had an Aquila on it. I mean, I know the product, and I know the seller, and I know the other seller, and I haven't gone and looked at the product yet because I know I can find the product on his site. But if I had to guess, it's probably something that has an Aquila on it or something. Like, okay, come on, guys, you know better. But anyways, I digress. The other, so like, yeah, where is that? Like, okay, so this isn't even me. This is somebody else's stuff. Go over here, deal with this guy. And then from that point, then it would have to get sorted. So now this guy has been affected. He hasn't been able to get his payments, potential loss of business. This is the same thing that, like, if your power goes out or there is a hurricane or whatever, your business insurance would cover these sort of things. And that's kind of why they have to do the bond and be able to do that. So in theory, he could be like, hey man, I got losses here. You need to cover this.
In
This
theory,
is
they could
all.
lose half of these cases and be out millions, and be out a million.
I mean, the individual sellers would have to show loss, right? But here's the thing. Okay, let me get to another example real quick. So another example is a seller I know had like either the Warhammer 40K logo or like a symbol or something on his category page, right? For a product that wasn't a Games Workshop product. And they're like, literally, this one image on his site, they're like, that's in violation. So just one little thing, no heads up, no warning, no, hey man, can you just, no, oh, okay, cool. It seems a little heavy handed. Like
Yeah.
I almost feel like somebody should have maybe looked at these examples, like, and been like, okay, well, maybe this one's
Well, they
too
used
much.
to.
Maybe
Remember,
this
they
one's
used
too
to have
much.
like a paralegal team that was like trolling Etsy and just making
Mm-hmm.
people take stuff down. And so they've escalated it to AI law firm that just did that just hit that put everyone in as into the same category as
Yeah.
China casters.
Which it seems to be the case. So I think there's going to be a little bit of pushback, and I think they could have just done a little bit of legwork, and that's the thing that and I've shown in the past where Games Workshop does use AI to go after sellers on eBay and things. It's very plain. We wrote it all up. You can Google it. You can find it. Plain as day examples. This is a real thing. But I think as an image and as optics, right after you go after so many people on eBay for making whatever cartoons and satire and things, that you go after these folks on here that, yes, as I'm about to show you, a lot of these maybe had cause, but there's definitely a good 5% in here that are in the hobby and doing other hobby things that benefit the hobby as a whole. Like maybe just take the extra 5 seconds and just be like, yo, dog, we got a problem here. Can you
Take
get
it off.
can you meet us halfway on this? Like, instead of being so heavy-handed all the time and just pissing people off. Like it's really just a little extra effort that would just look
As
better in the
always,
hearts and
GW
minds.
is notorious for making decisions that, like, while they are in the right, as we've mentioned many times on the show,
Yes.
sometimes doing the right thing makes people hate you and not want to buy your shit, right? Especially when because people like companies like Disney have a prestigious fan art backing. Like they back fan art under like a series of guidelines. Like do whatever you want with it, even though fan art that's not legal. You can't draw Luke
Yeah, I
Skywalker and
mean,
sell it.
I do agree with your point. I don't know if that's like an apt comparison though, because Disney is like it's so big and it's not just they don't just have like one thing, right? Like the IP of Disney is not just Lilo and Stitch.
That's
Because
fair.
Rob's wearing a Lilo and Stitch shirt, right? Like if I'm sure that if like the Disney empire, like let's say that
Was
hypothetically in an
just
alternate
Aquilas and Space
universe,
Marines and shit.
well, yeah, they would be just
You're
as
probably right,
litigious because that's like all Games Workshop has is Warhammer, right? And like sure they have multiple things
but it's just
stemming
Warhammer.
off,
Let's be real.
but it's just Warhammer. So it's like if they I I also agree with you that I think sometimes they're too heavy-handed and that like they could be more chill and like reach compromises with these situations. But I also understand that like they have to make those hard decisions sometimes because like of how IP stuff can be if they were to ever like lose or a precedent was ever set and they
Hmm.
no longer have like full control of their IP, then like that's it. Like they're done.
Yeah, and also if they're making a big play on movies and Netflixes and stuff like that, then they're definitely trying to shore up their foundations right now. They're definitely trying to clean things up before they go into that.
Yeah, 100%. Like if they're trying to make a show, they're trying to get
It's a big
into,
show for us right now. And then
they
some,
just announced that Space Marine 3 is in active production right now. So that's probably another factor.
yeah. So
I
actually,
agree.
I understand why they're. I understand why it's going down. I wish the 5% of people who really aren't doing anything wrong could get separated out from this in a fast, meaningful way that doesn't hurt their business. For sure.
So here's the thing: if you find yourself affected by something like this, where you are in the right, air quotes, and it obviously is going to affect your business. You can show damages. Um, they're alleging damages. You can show damages. This basically becomes a scenario for your business insurance, right? Because your business, this is just like, hey, you hit somebody with your car, somebody hits you with your car, right? Then it's damages, and it's two lawyers talking to each other to figure out, how to settle it the best, quickest way possible, so they can spend the least amount of money possible. And that's exactly what this is. If you have business insurance, call them up and be like, yo, here's the deal. And they'll get their people, litigating with this. This isn't this IP. Well, this kind of borders on the trolling side, but so vast majority of this, from what I've seen in the schedule, is probably with cause, that I can't say it's trolling because it's not.
It's not. Yeah.
But I really,
It's a.
I
I mean,
think,
honestly, it's a well put together attack. Uh, they were kind
oh,
of
very
warning us
much.
that this was going to happen for years. They have not changed their opinion in years. They have moved in
Mhm.
one direction only for years. So the closer you are to an IP infringement, to a copyright infringement, to a likeness violation, the closer you are to that as a business, like the more in danger you are over time, as they have not hidden their goals from you. So definitely I think a lot of people should have seen something like this coming, honestly, and should have, it like realistically.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that they should have done their due diligence, and they should have looked at this a little closer for the fringe cases, and kind of handled it
Yeah,
differently, and
absolutely.
maybe handled it in
I hate it
house.
when
I don't
people are
know.
punished for it. I hate it when people like that's why like the whole like legal system in general. Like I like the idea of like everyone's innocent until they're proven guilty because I feel
Mhm.
like you should always like someone should always get off the hook for a crime they committed than someone be convicted of a crime they didn't.
Right.
Like so that's why like so I don't like when something like this happens because this entity is obviously bigger than that entity and now this entity is kind of at the whims of whatever these decisions are even if they're not in the wrong. And it may take a long
Yeah.
time for that to shake out. And I don't like when that happens, and I think it should be avoided at all costs.
So just to give you an idea, like the, I guess, breakdown of geos served, and the platforms used by the alleged infringing sellers. Obviously, the top over, vast majority of it was China, followed by Great Britain, Australia, Poland, Denmark, Canada, Turkey, and so on and so forth. And USA actually didn't even make the top 15 countries. So just to give you an idea of like how fringe case people here in the States are, obviously there was number two was Great Britain. So
Holy
there's a lot,
shit!
there's a lot to be said for
I didn't
that one.
expect that. That's
Yeah,
probably
I
why
did
they're
not
so
expect that.
motivated. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Prairie Dog Online, he's a lawyer. He's in my chat sometimes. He says, interesting. It's
Mhm.
possible a plateless antitrust firm could be interested in taking the work as a class action lawsuit behalf of the 5% of GW that is involved in this in the bad face enforcement. So you could
Mhm.
actually see uh, a class action for like those fringe cases.
Well, I have advised them. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer and not giving them legal advice, but I'm like, hey, this is what I know. This is how I would approach it. And that was one of the things that I had mentioned, because they're names that if I said them, you'd be like, oh, I know who that is,
No,
and
and
the
yeah, as Kara Quinn said too, like the thing is like, yeah, I mentioned like my opinions of like how our legal system works, but I know that doesn't apply. That's not how the civil cases work,
mhm.
right? Like, and so that irritated me that oftentimes the civil cases, it literally is the guy with the most money calling the shots.
Right.
And so,
Well, unless you have that blanket protection from, business insurance or
get your
something like that.
insurance. That's what they
Yeah.
didn't give people time to do shit, man. They're really. The thing is, and also Kara Quinn said, and China's just gonna ignore this shit.
I mean,
Like,
well,
dude,
here's the thing. They took down all the stores, like all those links I clicked. So here's the marketplaces, top 15
do they
marketplaces.
take him down
What
on? Did you go to a VPN and see if you can go to those sites, or are they just take it down because you live in America?
That I don't know.
You see what I'm saying? I bet if you go on a VPN, I bet you can go to those sites.
I will try that tomorrow. What do you think the top platform used is?
Like
So,
fucking Timu or
Alibaba,
Wish.com, Alibaba, something like that. Yeah.
Alibaba's on the list, but the
Etsy.
top, yeah, the top one was
It's
Etsy.
Etsy. Oh God.
Yeah. Second was eBay. Third was Alibaba. Fourth was other, which I suspect is actually Shopify, but it's just that everybody
Their
has,
own URL.
your own URL.
Yeah, I mean,
The,
Etsy makes a lot of sense. There's so many people that are trying to make a quick buck and
mhm.
just stuff like, I mean, there's so many products, but like just focusing on like 3D printing to this day, there's still people that are just like, yeah, I'm just gonna like put up some fucking IP theft 3D print shit and like make a quick buck before it gets taken down.
Well, I talk about this a lot with a lot of sellers and a lot of manufacturers out there. We call them garage sellers because it's folks that, oh, I got a printer, let me just do whatever and make money. But they think their time is free, but it's really not, right? For printing and such. And they just put up whatever, and those I think are a vast majority of what they hit on Etsy. From what I saw, okay, so also number 5 is T Public, so a lot of T-shirts.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of T-shirts got hit, T-shirt designs and things. So yeah, it's just going to be harder to find stuff, I think, in the near term.
I
If
went to
you're
my
looking for
T-shirt
that
shop real
sort of
quick to see if it was still up.
I think in a lot of cases it was. Well, I'll send you the documents so you can look through
Oh yeah.
the pictures.
And thanks for reporting on this. This is pretty interesting, like amount of information to go over. But we're over on time.
Yes.
We got
Oh
to
yeah.
get this podcast out tomorrow, so let's shut it down. I look forward to the Spiky Bits article. When is that coming out?
Hopefully tomorrow.
Fuck yeah. All right. Well,
Nervous laughter.
Wyatt, can you take us out of here?
Rob?
I don't have a cool movie code, so I'm just gonna say thanks everybody for listening. Make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.